Hi, I'm Linda.
And I'm Troy with Wine, Spines, and Canines. Right behind me is a 2019 Rockwood GeoPro 19 FBS. This model is one of the most popular couples campers in the 20-foot range in America today.
But with any 20-foot camper, likely going to have to make some compromises. And that's what today's video is all about. The 5 things that we're just not that fond of. So if you've watched our previous videos, you know how much we love the GeoPro. And while we've had a few things go wrong, I don't think anything major.
Yeah, our experience has been very good, very positive. We've had a couple of screws come loose. We've had to tighten some things up. We even went so far as to take several of the drawers apart and kind of stiffen up the bottom of the drawers. The design wasn't sufficient for us. But I would say all in all, when you consider, what these campers are subjected to, when you pull them down the interstate into parking lots, into campgrounds, into gas stations. When you consider all of the vibration this trailer is enduring, I'd say the build quality and the fit and finish is way above average.
Yeah, and our experience isn't going to be everybody's experience,
Sure.
But when you buy a camper, chances are there are going to be things that go wrong. As you always say.
Yeah, if you're not a very handy person, buy a camper. It'll force you to become handier.
Exactly. But that's not going to be today's video.
No.
We're not going to talk about, the repairs or anything. We're going to talk about the 5 things that we had to compromise on.
Right.
Now, a couple of these things we knew ahead of time, and a few things we've learned along the way while owning it.
Right.
And while we're not looking to sell this camper in the future, when we buy a new camper, these 5 things are going to be kind of top of mind.
Right.
But really, only one of them is an absolute deal breaker.
Absolutely.
And we're going to mention that as we go through the video. And for now, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, for me, one of the items that I'm not real fond of is the kitchen receptacles. And when I say receptacles, I really mean one, and that is here on the edge of this counter. So we usually keep our coffee pot here, but also when I'm using the Instant Pot or another appliance, I have to have these cords draped over the countertop. There are people going in and out of this door. Obviously, Desi is small, so he can't get to the cord, but if you had a larger dog or children, I just don't really like this setup. I did not realize it when we bought the camper, and I really would have preferred if there had been an outlet maybe over by the stovetop. We just don't use that often, and I could have put my appliance there and plugged in, and it would have been out of the way. Now, there's probably a reason maybe you can't have an outlet that close to the stovetop in a camper, but in our next camper, I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on where those receptacles are placed.
Guys, if there is one eternal truth when it comes to RVing and camping, it's that things go wrong. If you happen to have a flat tire or blow a tire when you're pulling this camper down the road, one of the things you're going to have to contend with, and something I didn't think about when I bought this model, the spare is located underneath the frame. We'll turn this little bolt underneath the camper, it lowers the tire down, you have to retrieve the tire out from under the camper. If there's one truth, it's that you're going to have to crawl under there one day, and I would have preferred Rockwood mount the spare on the back of the camper like so many manufacturers do. Everything about a 20-foot couples camper is going to come down to a compromise, as stated before. Part of that compromise with Rockwood and their design of this camper is weight carrying capacity. They decided not to put a bumper back here and add some of the structure on the rear of this camper to give the person that buys the camper more ability to haul more, based with the camper they designed. And I understand that and I get it, but it does, and it's something you need to think about. You're not going to be able to have a utility carrier back here. You're not going to be able to have a spare tire mount, a bike rack, any of those types of things that we normally might see on the back of a camper. This particular model doesn't give you that option.
So one of the things that we knew we were making a compromise on was the size of this camper. Now, other couples campers will have a bigger bathroom. So we knew that this thing was small, but we had no idea how small this shower really was.
Yeah, it's real small. This is a difficult shower for somebody my size to use. And when we first bought this camper, honestly, we stayed at so many nice RV resorts, I always used the bathhouse. And I was comfortable with that. But in the last year, the option's closed in most places you can travel to. So I've had to take showers in this one, and you can bet the next time I buy a camper, this is going to be given a little bit more thought.
Okay, so here is the deal breaker for us on our next camper. So when we eventually go to buy, and we have no plans to sell anytime in the near future, but our next camper will absolutely not have this, and that is a non-ducted AC system. Our previous camper had ducted air, and I don't think we realized what the noise difference between the two was really going to be. Now, I think I am a little bit more sensitive to it than Troy. It doesn't bother him nearly as much, but when this is on high cool, I just can't concentrate. I can't hear the TV. I can't really have a conversation. And I just think in these smaller campers, every noise is just amplified a little bit. So we have done a modification to it, and we're going to show you that in just a minute, in the hopes that we bring down maybe the sound level a little bit. But really, that modification is going to focus on the fact that I also don't really care for the fact that the air only comes out the front and the back of this. So when you're sitting on the sofa, no airflow is getting directed to you. So we're going to cut a hole and put an extra vent in this in the hopes that we solve that problem. So in the meantime, until we upgrade in the future, this works for us. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. We've already taken the one filter out, but it's a good idea to take these filters out anyway, just to clean them. Now, Troy, those little tabs are a little tough to get your fingers in sometimes, so we just used, I think Troy used like a mini crowbar, but also like a 5-in-1. And then those little knobs are just going to pop right off. So there are 4 screws, and then it comes out, comes right off. Okay, so we have located the midpoint between this side, here, and here. I have purchased a 4.5 inch, that's this diameter right here, ceiling AC vent, and Troy's going to use a 4.5 inch hole saw, and we're going to cut a hole in this thing.
It's through.
Okay, so the ceiling fan vent is just a little bit bigger than the 4.5 inch. So Troy's just going to kind of wallow out this hole a little bit so it'll pop in. Okay, it is in, and louvers move around. So we're going to go ahead and reassemble this. And we did take a decibel reading before, and we're going to take a decibel reading after. I don't know that it'll make a difference, but if nothing else, at least I ought to be able to direct the airflow towards the couch. Okay, I'm going to count this as a win. It is on low cool right now, and it's actually very cold out today, so I am freezing. So we are going to go ahead, shut this off. So it didn't change a whole lot on the sound rating. So it went from a 77 decibel to about a 74, 75. We're not talking a lot, but it's a little bit quieter. But what it does is allow the air to come out of this vent now. And so when you're sitting here on the couch, I've got air directed at me. So I'm hoping that maybe from now on, we can kind of use low cool a little bit more and just make it a little bit quieter. But the whole fact of I can get air directed at us on the couch, that's worth it to me for the $20. Okay, so those are the 5 things that we didn't think would, we didn't even think of those things until we actually got in the camper. Now, that being said, other than the AC, I don't think any of those would be a deal breaker even today. And back then when we bought the GeoPro, I don't even think the AC would have been a deal breaker. We were looking for a specific camper in a specific weight class, and the GeoPro checked off all our boxes. if you watch our video of why we chose the GeoPro, you can see what our thinking was in that. And really, though, I mean, I'm happy with the camper, even though these few little things.
Yeah, I agree. You know, we've owned it 2 years. We have a different perspective now, but even when I started looking in the market for a camper that fit these, you know, design restrictions, there's very few that really were two things, either functional and attractive, you know, that did everything that I wanted them to do. So I'm very happy with this camper, you know, and it is a 20-foot travel trailer. It's relatively narrow. It tows really great, but one of the things it really does for me, as much as anything, is given its length and its size, it has a lot of storage.
Yes, and but there is always room for improvement.
Always.
So we are actually, in a couple of our upcoming videos, we're going to be tackling some storage projects, mainly under the TV and in the kitchen area. In addition, we are moving forward with our boondocking, and we have a couple of trips planned. So if you'd like to see more, please
Like and subscribe.
And remember, Desi always wants you to hit that notification bell.